Welcome everyone to Life Captured episode 26. Today I want to share some of the life lessons that I've learned over the last few years that have really helped me to get where I am today. So I want to start off with write everything down. The older you get, the more you forget, and especially because of all this knowledge and everything you have to remember and everything that you intake, is extremely important to write everything down, as I am doing for today's episode. So this is just how I deal with things. Everyone handles things differently, but one big thing that I had to learn is to not care about other people's opinions, because I had people from all walks of life, family, friends, total strangers, constantly putting their opinion and their beliefs and their everything on me, and it was getting so exhausting because I was trying to keep up with everyone and to please everyone, and it was impossible, and it was exhausting, and it was just not feasible or realistic. Recently, I've been learning to be better for myself and not other people, because I don't really care about what other people think in the first place. It's important at the end of the day, you know what you're doing and why you're doing it and what you're doing it for. And so whenever I make a goal or I'm striving towards something, I'm doing it to better myself and not just because someone else is pressuring me to do that. I'm striving to become the best version of myself. And at the end of the day, if I'm alone, I'm okay with that, because I would rather be true to who I am and happy with myself than be miserable trying to please everybody. And I've been on both sides of that, and let me tell you, trying to please everybody is just if you've been there, you know, it's just extremely miserable, and you just have so much pressure on yourself, like I mentioned earlier. So that is a huge thing that I am learning, and I am so happy with really digging into who I am and who God has made me to be and who God is calling me to be, and all this growth, and really setting aside people's opinions and their thoughts on it, because at the end of the day, that doesn't really matter. And that's another thing that I've learned. Find out who you are. Learn your identity. Who are you now? Who are you in Christ? Who have you been called to be? And once you learn your identity, trust me, it changes so much. And I want to talk about that one of these days, about the lies of the enemy, because one thing he will destroy is your identity, and he will put all these lies and all this deception so that you become confused, and then you have all this doubt, and you really struggle with everything, really. From being depressed and low self-esteem, he will attack you because you don't know who you are. So that's a huge thing. Learn who you are and who you are in Christ and who you are called to be. And it really does a significant change in your life, because whenever you are feeling down, you can be like, hey, this is not where I'm going to be staying. Life is about growth, metamorphosis. None of us stay the same, ever. And I've mentioned before, I have these little sticky notes around my bathroom mirror. And several months ago, I was struggling with who I was, and I did not believe when people would say that they loved me or that God loved me or any sort of compliment whatsoever. I would brush it off. I just could not believe it at all. And I put those sticky notes up. And now I have to see that every single day. And even if I don't believe it, eventually it starts working its way in. And I begin to realize and understand, okay, these aren't just words. I know that God is truth. You know, God is truth. God is love. And he doesn't lie. The Bible doesn't lie. And so, if these words came from God and they came from the Bible, then they must be true. So all these things that I don't believe about myself, your feelings are liars. Your emotions are liars. And so you have to kind of throw that out the window and be like, okay, it doesn't matter what I'm feeling. I need to find the truth. And the truth is, I'm a child of God, and I'm called, and I am getting way off topic. But anyways, we will talk about that one of these days. Another thing I learned is that if someone wants to walk out of your life, let them. let them go because it means that they were never meant to stay. And don't chase them down. Learn to handle things with grace. That's one thing that's kind of difficult because I've had a lot of people leave, and I'm at a point now where I've learned, okay, if someone wants to leave, let them. Because regardless of how much you want them to stay, sometimes you can't change people's mind. And why do you want someone in your life who is going to be really just a hindrance and someone who doesn't really want to be there? I have had this for a very long time. I will not be someplace where I'm not wanted. And so I will not keep someone in my life who doesn't want to be there. So that's another thing I've learned. A big thing is don't take things personally. A lot of times when someone lashes out at you, it's because of something going on in their life. And that kind of goes back to handle things with grace because they're going through something and they lash out at you. Learn to handle that with grace and also not be mad at the other person. Don't think of it as acceptable behavior, but learn to handle it with grace. And that's a big thing. Brush it off and move on. Really take everything with a grain of salt. People's opinions, what people think of you, everything in life, take it with a grain of salt and let the rest just roll off your back, okay? Not everything is meant towards you. Don't take everything personally because everything's not as clear-cut as it seems. There are many good people in the world, but much more terrible people. So learn to choose your friends wisely. And when you have found good friends, hold on to them. And also remember that in life there are many different seasons, and some people aren't meant to stay in your life the whole journey. And so sometimes you have to say goodbye to some people when you may not necessarily want to. So again, it goes back to handle everything with grace and lean on to God through the entire process. My very last thing that I want to share today is if you keep holding on to the past, you'll get trapped there. A lot of people have gone through trauma and hurts and regrets and all of this. But the problem is they keep looking back to the past, and when you get stuck in the past, there really is no future. And that's something that I struggle with, even now, is looking to the past and really getting trapped in that. And sometimes wanting to go back, and sometimes just being so shook up from everything. So you have to deal with your past, okay, at some point. Figure out when, how, deal with it. Whether you go to your pastor, you go to counseling, whatever it is, deal with it and forgive whatever people along the way that need forgiving, because more than likely there is almost always someone in your past that either you need to forgive or you owe an apology to. So after that, after you deal with your past, you can really move on to the future. Don't get stuck there. So I know this episode is extremely long, but I hope that this helps someone. And we will touch on some of these subjects later on. So y'all have a great week and God bless you.